You're rocking with the best. You're rocking with the best.
Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, let's break it down. Former President Donald Trump has been indicted for conspiracy charges and a number of other charges. We're going to break it down for our very own Suzette Speaks, the attorney out of Florida, to give us some insight as to what we're looking at on this whole situation. Also, folks, can we talk about what's happening in the state of Oklahoma as they have rejected the survivors of the Tulsa massacre from over 102 years ago from getting any type of settlement? We'll share with you the latest in that case. Also, Former Ravens player Michael Orr has come out with a new book saying that the blind side was not his side of the story. We'll share with you the latest around that and so much more. So stay with us. We got a lot to cover on today's edition of The Culture right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Yes, folks, we are streaming live right now on our home website at theblackstarnetwork.com, blackstarnetwork.com. Let me just say it again, blackstarnetwork.com, where you can find all of the latest shows, some past shows, and as I said, we're streaming live right there. Also, folks, make sure y'all do your due diligence and support us there at Black Star Network as we're looking for your financial support and support for making this media platform great as it continues to be one of the key areas to get news and information for Black America. And so make sure y'all check us out there. We're also streaming live right now on Amazon News, on Roku, where you can go and tell Alexa, pull up Black Star Network, and boom, some of the greatest news and information programming and shows will pop up. That's right. We're streaming live there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can just go and check that out on Roku TV. We're also streaming, folks, on Facebook and on Instagram, and that's on Facebook and YouTube, and that's on YouTube under Roland Martin's page. You can be a part of today's Culture Crew, where we have our chat, where our folks from all across the country and some parts of the world check in and be a part of the conversation. This is one of the very, very, very few places where you are a part of the discussion. So I'm very, very grateful for our Culture Crew that is always bringing some insight and posing some fabulous questions, and most importantly, keeping us in the loop about what's going on as we have in these conversations. So join our Culture Crew right now, folks. Folks are checking in. We got people that are checking in. Robin, I see you. Happy Wednesday, Robin. Damon Blissett, my pastor. Hey, King and Queens. I see you, big brother. Pretty Brown Mimi, 726 Mimi. Happy Wednesday, and Culture Crew family. That's right. Miss Goddess K. Good to see you, Tiana. I see you. Thank you. Hello, Tiana. Deidre Hall. Hello, Culture Crew. Hello, Deidre. Good to connect with you again. Beautiful checking in on the election interference. Beautiful. Thank you so much. My sister, Karen Connor. Karen, good to connect with you. I'd love to talk to you. We're going to be checking in with Karen tomorrow. And she got some big things happening. There we go. Man of God, good to see you, brother. Thank you so much for checking in. Cindy D, hello, everyone. Hello, Cindy. Good to connect with you. Leo Don. Leo, thank you so much for checking in. Mark Brown, you said we will never get reparations. You already in the conversation, Mark. I absolutely love it. Lori Parks, good to connect with you. Pauline Hurtness. Pauline, thank you so much as you check in from the great city of Cleveland, Ohio. You don't like my music? K Pasas. There you go. Willie Frazier. Peace, love, and life, family. The O is in the building. That's right. Willie Frazier, thank you so much. And my man Vic Abrams, thank you for checking in. Good afternoon. Folks, you can do the same check-in right now on our YouTube page. Just look under Roland Martin and join the conversation. All right, let's jump right into it because we got a lot to cover. We got a very short time to do it, folks. Let me check in with my sister. This is my sister from another mother, man. She's fantastic. Y'all can check her out on her YouTube show, the Suzette Speaks YouTube show, where she always breaks down the issues and she brings the legal expertise and so much more. So we have her joining us here every week on The Culture as one of our great Culture Crew members. Suzette, good afternoon. How are you, sis? There we go.
Hey, Farajii. Hey, Culture Crew. It's Wednesday, y'all. We got a lot to get into. Oh, my goodness.
See, I was y'all. I'm gonna just tell y'all some background on this. I actually waited to have this conversation because of Suzette.
Aww.
I did. I was like, no, I can't have this conversation by myself. I can't have it with other folk and just the crew. I said, no, we got to have Suzette in here. And we're going to have this discussion because it's a lot to break down. As we, of course, folks, we're talking about the latest in the fourth indictment of former President Donald Trump. Fourth indictment. Let me just say,
Go ahead, Farajii.
let me just say, let me just say, if this ain't some privilege, I don't know what it is, Suzette. This is some real privilege. 4 indictments. This man has never seen a day in jail. 4 indictments, 2 times impeached. Oh yeah, guess what? He's still considered to be the front runner for the Republican Party for the seat of president.
Over 91 counts charged to this date. Yes, sir. There's a pattern we're seeing here. So yeah, Miss Fonnie Willis. I don't know why y'all keep playing with her. You know, it's hot down in Georgia right now.
All right, let's jump into it because we know what's going on. All right, Fonnie Willis, the district attorney out in the state of Georgia, she hit the former president hard. This was the case, Suzette, that I've heard so many people say that it all of his legal matters is going to really is going to be predicated on this one case. First and foremost, why is this case so significant in the larger legal landscape and the legal challenges of Donald Trump?
Again, always wonderful to be here, Farajii. Thank you. Bringing greetings from Miami, Florida.
There we go.
Gonna just first and foremost just point out what you have just asked, which is that this is a state case and not a federal case. Why is that significant? Well, if and we're speaking in terms of what may happen as a result of this election, as you just pointed out, there is a chokehold Mr. Trump has on the Republican base, and he still remains the front runner in terms of polling for his party in the upcoming presidential election. It's nice and early, but here we are, 4th indictment, and there are 2 in federal court, as we talked about last week, 1 in Washington, D.C., where he's being charged for his role in the January 6th attempt to take over the election and reverse the election result where Joe Biden actually won. He also has a case here in South Florida where he's being charged with illegally withholding documents that were classified that should have been returned to the federal government. He had a chance to return them, decided to keep them, and therefore was charged there. And those are being charged by special counsel Jack Smith. But the cases that really hold a lot of legal peril for him are the state cases. Why? Because even if he is elected president, or if someone who is favorable to his cause is elected president, the state cases, if he is convicted, cannot be pardoned in any way by a federal official. They would have to be handled at the state level. Now, in Georgia, the pardon power does not solely reside within the governor. It is done within a bipartisan pardon board, and it can only happen after the way it's written in Georgia, after the person serves their term. So there is a real jeopardy in terms of serving time and possibly having to report into a jail if convicted without the opportunity to be pardoned. So this is a serious case. Mr. Trump is being charged with along with 18 other co-conspirators. We can get into it, including several attorneys that served him and staff members that served him, people who were claiming to be fake electors, people who were local election officials. 2 African Americans are among those who are also charged in this wide sweeping charge from Fonnie Willis, this case of what she's calling possible racketeering. And what you usually see these laws, although this is a Georgia version of this statute used, is to indict people who are involved in mafia-like or that kind of crime committed by organized crime individuals. But this is a unique way it's been applied. District Attorney Fonnie Willis has a lot of experience in her office. She has used the RICO statute to prosecute teachers, even who were charged in a Georgia cheating scandal, changing grades, etc. She made her name that way. So she has seen this applied in several ways. And I point that out because one of the biggest talking points right from the right side of the aisle, from the Republican side, is that it should not be applied in this case. But I think she has a strong almost 100-page indictment laid out, telling the story chronologically of everything that took place that seemed to lead to facts that can be argued as to whether all of these people willingly participated in an attempt to overturn the result of the Georgia election, which was in favor of Joe Biden, in trying to hold on to power and make Trump the winner.
All right, so here's my big question for you as a lawyer, as an attorney, and we're going to take a quick pause. Do you think that she has a strong enough case to render justice?
Well, she'll be trying, as she said, 19 people together. So it is going to be a very complex case.
Sure.
But looking at the facts, it can be argued, and again, it'll come down to what the jury believes. But I do think there are very strong allegations within this indictment based on the behavior, much of which was public, in terms of what their roles were in forwarding this idea of Trump actually winning, which he did not, and using their offices, using their whether they were attorneys, whether they were people who were elected officials, etc., people who were involved in PR, promulgating a lie in order to keep Trump in power. I think there are just very strong evidence laid out within this indictment. So I think that I would take a guess as this is going to be very difficult to prove otherwise, but we're going to have to wait to see what the jury has to say.
We're going to have to wait to see. It's one of those situations, but I'm just saying the build up to when that moment takes place is going to be incredible.
Absolutely.
It's going to be incredible. Folks, we're just getting started as we check in with my sister Suzette Speaks, as we're talking about this latest set of the charges, another indictment for Donald Trump, 4 indictments, folks, for a former president of the United States. What does that mean? How does that affect you? Let's get into that conversation. Join us in the chat right now as we're streaming live on YouTube under Rolling Martin's YouTube page. Post your comments. I would love to hear from you. We will try to get to as many of your thoughts as possible, but let's continue the conversation. We got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, more conversation about this and what we can expect. Stay with us. There's a lot to talk about on this first hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We have been talking about, of course, former President Donald Trump being indicted for the fourth time. This one, he's got so many charges, not just against him, but also some of his co-conspirators or allies in this case of the election interference for the state of Georgia. Now, Fani Willis, who's the district attorney for the state of Georgia, laid out her plan on, or rather her legal thesis as what she saw happening as a result of the former president's trying to overturn the election in the state during the 2020 election ceremony. Now, this is, again, folks, this is the fourth indictment against a former president. And I've always, y'all hear me keep saying it, 4 indictments, two impeachments. But it's this black woman right here that is looking to try to stop the buck where it is, to try to bring this man to some sort of accountability and to some sort of justice. And I've been checking in with my sister, Suzette Speaks, who is our resident attorney, and she is the host of the Suzette Speaks show on YouTube. And I want to just ask, one of our crew members posted this, and I can't thank her enough for saying this. And this is from my sister, Joni. Joni, you checked in and you said something that's been on my mind ever since we heard this. You said, we still going through this? If he's not in jail or on his way to jail for sure, then this is a mute conversation. How does that happen, Susan? We're still in this place. This is his fourth indictment. He got, let me see something. I saw 41 charges. Yep. The New York Times put out the 41 charges that he is allegedly responsible for. 41 charges. He's still raising money. He's still on the ballot. He still is moving around like there's no care in the world. They're trying to figure out all of this stuff. Yeah, look at 41 charges, man. Yeah. They damn near need to just say this man has caused treason and all types of stuff. Like, he got 41 charges, and yet there is still this kind of fuzzy place. It's like, well, he doesn't necessarily need to be in jail right now. How does this happen? Because I'm like, Joni, at some point, this is going to become a mute conversation. So why should people be even remotely interested in what's happening with this particular, this latest indictment from Fani Willis?
Well, I would say that sometimes, again, it seems like the wheels of justice turn very slowly. However, Fani Willis has stated that she has spent the last 2.5 years, the phone call that Mr. Trump made to the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, asking him to find nearly 12,000 votes because he really won. And he just needed some help finding the votes. That happened on her second day in office. Right. So we have to look at the time frame in which all of this unfolded. Her indictment starts from before the election, when Mr. Trump was giving different speeches talking about how he would declare himself the winner, even if he had not won. She is stating and alleging in this indictment that the conspiracy really started from back then. Then we saw all of this unfold again publicly, right in front of our cameras, right in front of our eyes, with Rudy Giuliani having these kind of press conferences. You remember the one where, his hair dye was sweating down his face and he was elected. However, that these poor election workers, they went after. We have to remember, those two ladies that we've spoken about here on this show, and the implications that it had in terms of what people really was thinking was going on. Mr. Giuliani himself, alleged that they were passing, ballots around, and he used the word like cocaine or heroin and crack, and those kind of euphemistic ways of saying that Black people somehow were stealing the Georgia election, because Mr. Trump really could not believe that of all the states that he had, in fact, lost Georgia. So what Fani Willis has laid out here is that, therefore, his attorneys and other associates, set out in this kind of syndicate to overturn an official election result that they did not agree with. We have to remember what's at the heart of this matter was that he refused to accept the official results. And I have to applaud even the Georgia governor, Brian Kemp, right now is one of the few Republican officials who has come out and said, again, Trump, you're wrong. You're still alleging what is in fact a lie, which is that you won this state when in fact you didn't. So it has taken some time. Again, she has done a thorough job in this indictment of telling the story, bringing us along chronologically from its inception to the phone calls, to the text messages. They have even been able to go back to tweets that were in draft form and then deleted and things like this to outline all of the behavior that lays what we call the predicate, right? The illegal act that they are conspiring, according to the allegations, to complete together by working together in furtherance of, and unlike the mafia, it's not for profit, but legal outcome, which is to make their own determination of an election result, opposite of what the people ended up voting for, which was President Biden. So this has taken a long time. So have some of the other cases, but District Attorney Willis has said she wants a 6 months trial period, which is very aggressive. Not sure if she'll be able to conclude.
What is that? And I'm glad you brought that up. So what did I saw that? So what does that mean? So you want a 6 month trial period? Like, what's the implication of that?
So basically, she wants to start moving this case along quite rapidly. But again, with 19 different co-defendants, that's going to be very difficult. And also with other competing trial dockets, meaning the other cases that's going on, and those judges setting hearings and depositions and all types of ways in which the cases are going to be contested. You know, you're going to have hearings about what we just saw filing on. For example, Trump's former chief of staff filed a motion to remove himself from the case to be held in state court, to remove it to federal court. And he's saying because of a statute that allows those who work in the federal government, those who are operating in their auspices of doing their job, that they should or can be allowed to move their case in terms of a federal judge and a jury. However, it will still be the DA and her team prosecuting it, although it will be in the federal level. But only difference and the significant difference that they're trying to work towards is that the jury pool will be a little bit wider. Instead of just Fulton County, where the state case will be, that jury pool will now include what they call the Northern District of Georgia, the federal district that's cut up into, I think, a little bit of its neighbor is also involved in the Northern District of Georgia. But nonetheless, the jury pool will be a little bit wider and they're hoping a little bit more favorable. So so all these independent motions that are going to come through, it's going to take some time to set them down. So I think she is being, very optimistic and again, wanting to move this case so that the public interest of finding out, is this in fact something that he has done by way of a conviction by a jury, or, should that be kind of slowed down by other cases? I think it's a real possibility. I think Jack Smith's case, the January 6th case in DC, that will be in front of Judge Tanya Chutkin, will probably go first because there's only one defendant name in that case. And it probably, as that judge has indicated, she wants to move that one along. So whether it'll be 6 months, I don't quite think it probably will fall in that time, because there are other hearings and the courts will talk in terms of their timelines and setting hearings so that he can appear in state court. The other thing is cameras will be allowed in this courtroom. This is not federal court. We've seen the sheriff there in Fulton County make a statement that he will fingerprint Mr. Trump, that he will take a mugshot unless indicated by, for example, the judge or anybody else of authority telling him otherwise. So he will, the perp walk and going through the process, just like anybody else who is being accused of breaking a crime there in Fulton County, he will experience those same procedures. And so there's a different element that the public will now get to see more. It's not going to be a drawing or one still photograph. We'll be able to see through the cameras what's actually happening, which I think will be good for the people who are still, in denial as to what really the outcome of this election was, and Mr. Trump's role in trying to actively, along with his co-conspirators, along with these other folks that are named in this indictment, allegedly coming together to try to overturn the Georgia election result.
All right, let me take a couple of comments from the crew because folks are checking in, and we truly, truly appreciate you. If you're your first time checking in as a Culture Crew member for the day, 100 first time. We appreciate every perspective. As long as you stay respectful,
yes,
we want to hear from you. Even if we don't agree, we want to hear from you. We want to try to get as many sides to this matter as we possibly can. All right, you don't like my music. You say he's innocent because he didn't succeed is not a defense. I've heard that one, bro. You don't like my music. I appreciate you for posting that. I've actually heard that, Suzette, where people say the same thing about the January 6th situation. You know, people are like, oh, he didn't succeed, therefore he's not guilty.
That's not a defense. No, a crime was committed in terms of his actions.
It's about intention, though, right?
Yeah. And again, there are overt acts that she lays out here in terms of activity that matches the statute for attempting a crime, which is to encourage his counterparts to pressure elections officials, trying to call officials to make, to lie and to falsify what the outcome was, having press conferences and telling people what to do, kind of in terms of fake electors and things like that. There is a lot of activity that can match the statutory definitions of crimes, even though the outcome that they wanted didn't occur. That's not a defense. That's not a defense.
Not a good defense. Dana Cooper, thank you so much for checking in, Dana. You said the question for Black folks is, how does this free us? Yes, karma is real, and this will not play out well for the former president. But I think at this point, Suzette, I think Dana's bringing up a valid question. I think at this point, I mean, we already know what kind of man that we're dealing with here, right? So is this really a problem for Black people in this country? Is this like, why how does this affect where we stand in this country? All of our issues and just everything. How does this affect us? How do you see that?
I see it as the impact on democracy as a whole is why it affects each and every one of us. If anybody, including a former president, is allowed to perpetrate this, again, alleged conspiracy to get all of those 19 plus other unindicted co-conspirators, there are some more that are mentioned in terms of their behavior without being named, to try to subvert the will of the Georgia, in this case, the Georgia voters, it's dangerous. Everybody wants democracy unless they don't get the outcome that they want. So we all pro-democracy, and then, wait a minute, we not winning anymore. So we're going to go around and flout the law and go beyond our rights in our offices, like within the chief of staff's office, the president's office, to get an outcome that is in fact illegal. It infringes on the 14th Amendment. If we can't protect our poll watchers, our volunteers, like Shea Moss and her mom, if we now see that people can retaliate, even right now in this very case, there are reports that people are trying to release the address of the grand jury members that are now, yes, they're quick-witted, Farajii. So it's trying to go around. We have legal processes, right? We're trying to establish that the law applies to everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, but you cannot try to subvert the outcome of what's in the Constitution, which is our right to vote. You try to take that away from the people of the great state of Georgia and make it your, laboratory for how I can sway this outcome through, illegal acts. So how we look at this is supposed to be, is democracy going to be protected or not? Is our vote going to count or not? Are we going to leave room for people to act in a way that when they don't win, they can go around and try to pressure folks in elected offices, from the state Secretary of State all the way down to the people who are trying to illegally get, copies of the voting tallies and copying, outcomes from voting machines illegally. There's so many different charges that are listed here. We got to put an end to it because this is our democracy too. When we vote, it should count and the will of the people should stand. And even if you're president and you want to continue being president, or you feel like you, quote, really won, and he had recourse. He sued and lost every time in all the different states, saying that, there were miscounts and all kinds of stuff. And he even had more legal ways in which he could have continued to fight if he thought there was something wrong. But all of the legal attempts and court cases brought were seen as false and thrown out. and there was no fake, or outcome in which he was somehow disenfranchised and not being the winner. No, we have it on record. So we have to get democracy back on track. And I think this DA, along with others, are going to make sure that the rule of law applies equally no matter who you are, and they're going to work to make sure it's protected in our elections.
Absolutely. We got to take a quick pause, Suzette. When we come back, I want to get some final remarks from you, of course, from the crew as well, as we look at the implication of all of this on the 2024 election, and more importantly, how will the people respond? That's you and me, the constituents, right? Are we in a confusion, a state of quagmire around this situation? How will Democrats respond to this latest set of charges and this latest indictment to the former president? And so we got to talk about all of that. Folks, we are still talking about former President Donald Trump, the fourth indictment, 4 times indicted, 2 times impeached presidential candidate. Stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side, right here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. We have been talking about former President Donald Trump and being indicted for the 4th time with 41 charges coming at him from the state of Georgia, courtesy of the district attorney, Fonnie Willis, down there, talking to our very own Suzette Speaks, who's an attorney and talk show host, as we talk about this situation and its implications on a variety of things, from everything about the state of democracy to just having voter confidence, and more importantly, accountability at the polls. Let me bring back my sister Suzette. Suzette, you've been breaking it down for us all throughout this first half of the show, giving us some insight. And the crew, everybody is kind of feeling like, you know what? Enough is enough. Stop playing games with this whole situation. We got to make sure that 2024 doesn't become a crazy situation. First and foremost, what do you think that how the Democrats will respond to this? I know that they don't want to kind of touch it because it is a highly sensitive situation. You don't want to start poking the bear, so to speak, and then shine the light on you if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, or if you're not doing right by the people. So how should the Democrats moving forward use this?
I kind of want to counter a little bit with how the Republicans are responding, because I think the Democrats see, I think we already have an understanding that there are certain things that took place in response to the election of President Joe Biden that were wrong. And I think there still is a large swath, according to several polls, of our fellow, voters here in the United States that don't believe that Joe Biden was constitutionally, fairly, duly elected. So I think those who have been the most quiet, knowing that their constituents believe the 2 years of lies that was promulgated, according to even the facts alleged in this indictment, over and over again by the Trump lawyers and the Trump team, and looking at how that has impacted how they view the 2020 election. Again, half the country believes that Trump really won. And we see the Republican slate of potential candidates who are running for president. Very few, if any, are speaking up loudly against what he did. And we, might have a Chris Christie as an exception. And like I said, a couple others in the local Georgia Republican Party, as far as the governor, Kemp, saying that this election was fair. You guys are lying. Basically, nothing was irregular or illegal about the election that took place in Georgia. Biden won. So I think Democrats have been kind of through like the January 6th hearings and other ways in which they brought this out in the public sphere to say, this is what really happened. This was almost an implosion of our very democracy. I think it's up to Republicans to admit as well that something completely, illegal happened, and that former President Trump was at the head of it in terms of all of this behavior that is outlined as we see in this indictment. But I think the Democrats have done a very, fair job at laying out facts through public hearings and through, when Nancy Pelosi was speaker and other things, speaking up against what happened in terms of a former president. This is crazy that it happened in the United States of America, right? We say we follow rule of law, right? Everybody got the same rules and you got to follow them. That a former president believed in our country that he somehow can finagle the system and remain in office when he absolutely lost is, I think, something that the Republican cause has to come to terms with, and to be more vocal about getting their folks back into reality that he did lose, and that it was a complete fabrication on his part and his associates to make them believe that he truly won when he didn't.
All right. See, this is where you and I split hairs. This is where we part ways, Suzette.
Tell me.
You expect the Republicans, you said reality and Republicans in the same sentence. Come on. The reality is they should have disassociated themselves from this guy years ago. The reality is he should not still be considered a front runner, a viable candidate at this point. The reality is he should not be allowed to be on the ballot. I mean, the party needs to say, all right, this guy is bad for business. I mean, and that's what essentially it is. He's bad for business in a very, very big way. And if the American people, which I truly believe is happening, I think the American people are slowly waking up, and I'm speaking of white America, not just black America, white America is slowly waking up and saying, this is insane. This is absolutely insane. We cannot have a guy like this representing our interests and our cause, and he is just this morally deficient, civically bankrupt individual who is just out for himself, and then we expect him to really think about the interest of the people. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. So I don't know how that can be reconciled. And I hear your point. I definitely hear your point. I just don't know how the Republican Party can justify their support of him. They're not even coming out and saying, we can't do nothing with this guy. We can't do nothing. We gotta let it go. I mean, you're not saying your governor, but the governor down in Florida, Ron DeSantis, he's struggling right now. He can't get it together. And I mean, he's a governor. He's a legitimate governor of a state. He's running against a criminal, and they can't get it together.
I mean,
and it's like, oh man, what are we going to do? And then when Chris Christie comes out, and again, none of these guys are saints. We all know that. But at the end of the day, it's like when you start to have a conversation about being morality, about values, about democracy and all of these things, these very high principles and ideals. How do you want to have a conversation when your whole party is just coming across as benign and corrupt and just out of touch with reality as they are?
Yeah, I would at least say, Farajii, my one hopeful outcome of this, and again, I would bet on Miss Fonnie Willis in doing her job and doing it well. But again, it will be down to what the jury believes. But I will point out that if convicted, again, he is innocent until proven guilty. If convicted of the allegations, there are a couple of articles that have been written by law professors that say that there's an amendment within our United States Constitution that was written right after the Civil War that said that anybody who has been convicted of insurrection should not be permitted to run for president. So that's another big outcome that hangs in the balance for the Georgia case, that perhaps if applied, it might take him out of the race by law, right? According to that amendment. So there are far more implications that we can go into. But yes, I do think we have a miseducation. That's why it should matter to Black people that all these cases are coming out for now. There has to be a re-education of the American electorate as a whole, because the facts that you and I know, several of our, counterparts, brothers and sisters, fellow Americans are not applying or do not believe that the same facts exist. They think that Mr. Trump, based on all the lies, based on all the conspiracy theories, based on all the Fox News, follow-up and updates that promulgated this lie, they really believe that he won. So I think it is really important to see these trials and see them publicly so we can begin to re-educate the American public.
Re-educate the American public on something that's blatant.
They don't know, Farajii. You'd be surprised.
No.
They don't want
look, you know how I feel about you. This ain't about you. This not about your view. It's absolutely insane.
They don't believe that he lost.
It's like walking out the door and saying, looking up at the sky and be like, yo, the sky ain't blue. And you looking at it, you're like, yo, what color is that, bro? Like, if it's not blue, then what color is it? The sky is not blue.
It's wild.
Like this is. I'm telling you, I think one of our crew members have talked about this, and a number of actually have said this, like the level of ignorance, and I'm not saying ignorance in terms of no, I'm talking about this state of this level of denialism that is so present right now in this country. When you have certain groups of people who are just saying, no, this is crazy. No, he's not a criminal. How the hell can you say this man is not a criminal? How do you say that? How do you say that he's not doing some backdoor dealing?
Well, they're gonna watch it on TV now. They're gonna watch it on TV, and
of course we're all gonna watch it. This is going to be, this is going to be like must-see TV.
I'm gonna try to put it on my YouTube channel. I don't know how I'm gonna get a press.
I don't know. Hey, look.
We'll try to put it on.
Hey, look. Check this out. And check. Yeah. But here's the big thing. Here's the big thing. I know we gotta take another pause. The big thing is just like the January 6th hearings, right? You lay out all those facts. In January 6th hearing, the committee, They laid out all this stuff, witness testimonies and evidence and facts and text messages and this and that and all of these things. And people still walked away and saying, I don't believe it. You know what?
Crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Like at this point, if once Fonnie Willis does her thing, whatever that time period is, she's able to get cameras in the courtroom. If people don't see this, and this is bigger than Donald Trump, this is what I'm getting to. This is bigger than Donald Trump. This is a problem. America's got a problem with truth. And that's what it comes down to. America has a problem with truth telling about people. And we do not want to really wake up. We talk about woke ideology and all that bull, but we really don't want to wake up. As much as we claim we do, we really don't want to wake up to the reality of the condition that we find ourselves in this country, whether you're black or white, whatever your colors, your complexion may be. The reality is that we're in a crisis situation. We're in dire straits in this country. And this right here is a prime example of how much of a crisis in this country, that we're talking about a man 4 times indicted, 2 times impeached. He's walking around here and he's still talking about being president of the United States. I saw a documentary yesterday. They talked about Kanye West and how he kind of unraveled during his situation with his divorce from his wife and all of that, and how it played on his head. This is like the unraveling of a country, because we are all going through some form of disorder because of our disassociation and our lack of taking in the truth about the situation. You cannot look at this and be like, no, this is all good. This is great. That is absolutely insane to me.
Absolutely. We got to take a break, Farajii.
We got to take a break. I know, Suzanne. We got to take a break. All right, folks. So we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back on the other side, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about what's happening in the state of Oklahoma. Also, we got to talk about the Michael Orr situation and more. So stay with us. We got another hot hour coming at you right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Fantastic first hour of my sister, Suzette Speaks, checking in from Florida as she is our resident attorney and the host of the Suzette Speaks show on YouTube, talking about this latest set of charges against the former president, Donald Trump, out of the state of Georgia with District Attorney Fani Willis, saying that the former president is allegedly responsible for 41 counts. So we've been talking about that. If you did not get a chance to tune into that discussion, make sure you be a part of Team Replay and make sure y'all check out the conversation, because Suzette does an excellent job breaking this all down and giving us some understanding as to what we're looking at, and more importantly, what we can expect over the next coming months, as Fani Willis has laid out her legal thesis and has put the charges out there. Now she has to prove those charges and take down a criminal conspiracy of Donald Trump allies that allowed him. Yo, there you go. There it is. There it is. Thank you, Keenan. Let me bring my sister back into this as we talk about this situation. I want to get to this next story, but I do want to mention something that Tia, you put out something that I think was very, very important. Let me make sure I find. Okay, Tia, you said 2 impeachments plus 4 indictments plus 41 charges equal Make America Great Again.
No.
Schizophrenic math.
And real quick, Farajii, there are 2 African Americans involved that have been allegedly a part of this conspiracy. So y'all look.
I didn't want to talk about it.
Harrison Floyd.
I didn't want to talk about it, Suzette.
Trivia Cootie. Just look them up. And like I say, you can
now say the names. Say the names. Say the names again, please.
Who is the publicist, former publicist for Ye, as well as R. Kelly. She was called upon to put pressure on election workers, meeting with them. It's on camera, as well as Mr. Harrison Floyd, who was president of, I think it was Black Voices for Trump. You can read about them, guys. But there are 2 African Americans who are also among the 19 alleged co-conspirators in Georgia. Farajii. I'm sorry.
Hey, look.
They got caught up.
No. No, they didn't get caught up, Suzette. They didn't get caught up.
They call upon you and you go visit these people's houses.
No.
Tell them to withdraw and they look for votes.
No, Linda. No, Linda. No, Linda. No. Man. No, let me check. Let me say this. You get caught up when you don't know what's happening.
No, I hear what you mean. I know what you mean. Yes, sir. I agree. You
know what I'm saying?
Knowingly got caught up.
when you like, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
When the first time they ask you to do something, it's to be like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I'm not doing it. So now you all of that. And here's the thing, very quickly. We're gonna jump off of this. Here's the thing. Was it worth it?
No. That's how I feel about the lawyers.
Was it worth it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lawyers knowingly promulgating.
Was it worth it?
Yeah, please.
Look, Giuliani about to lose his license again, right? Like he's going down. But was it worth it? Like somebody say, hey man, look, I need you to do me a favor, and like, who is this coming from? And like, oh, Trump. They're like, oh, Trump? Oh, the beacon of moral.
There they go. Now you gotta report by next week Friday and get some legal aid for real. I'm telling you.
Hell,
congratulations.
You
played.
Yeah. Congratulations.
I know.
I can't, y'all. I can't right now. All right, let's talk about this other story with all due seriousness. This is a story that is, again, this goes to show you how much work we still got to do, Suzette. This is coming out of the state of Oklahoma as we're looking at the situation there. As Tulsa survivors are refused settlement or some form of reparations for what happened back in Tulsa, in the Tulsa massacre of 1921, there are only 3 living survivors of that massacre. And guess what? Oklahoma says it won't discuss a settlement with survivors who are seeking reparations for the 1921 Tulsa massacre. Here's the latest from the root here we got, folks, because this is mind blowing. That even after all this talk and acknowledgement about what happened, those 3 people are still fighting for some form of justice from the state of Oklahoma 102 years later. Here's to take a look at this, folks. Oklahoma said that it won't discuss the settlement and have appealed a Tulsa County judge's dismissal of the case last month. There are just 3, I'm looking at paragraph 2 here, folks. There are just 3 known survivors of the attack still living, all of them more than 100 years old. Leslie Benningfield Randall, Viola Fletcher, and Hughes Van Ellis have sued for reparations from the city, state, and others for the white mob's destruction of the once thriving black district known as Greenwood. It's no surprise that the state, which took part in a lawless massacre of American citizens, has refused to settle. Their attorney, Demario Solomon Simmons, said in a statement to the Associated Press, the survivors of the Tulsa race massacres are heroes, and Oklahoma has had 102 years to do right by them. The state's efforts to gaslight the living survivors, whitewash history, and move the goalposts for everyone seeking justice in Oklahoma puts all of us in danger, and that is why we need the Oklahoma Supreme Court to apply the rule of law. So, as far as you know, Suzette, what is the real reason why Oklahoma is denying some form of reparations for these living survivors? Why would they deny that?
Yes, is my educated guess is they don't want to acknowledge that the state itself was involved and that there were actual public officials involved in the bombing U.S. citizens on their own land. Because of if we don't know the story, the prosperous Greenwood district that was all black due to segregation, where businesses were thriving and there were hotels and movie theaters that were black owned, and there was an accusation made against a young man that he had whistled at or forgive me, the facts around that are a little bit cloudy to me at the moment, but he was accused of some sort of act towards a white woman. He said he didn't do it. The folks from Greenwood made an attempt to go, get him from police custody. We got to know what's going on with this young man, et cetera, et cetera. And then all hell broke loose when the white folks from the white side of town came over into the Greenwood district and decided to demolish it by shooting everyone and by dropping bombs. Literally, the accounts that are given by survivors and their descendants who remember the stories that were told about how they looked up and there were actual aircraft dropping bombs on an American town in order to decimate the black people in it, right? So we have 3 survivors left. They already have removed descendants as being, part of this lawsuit as having grounds, which again, I don't know that I agree with, but this is Oklahoma law. And I'm glad that they're going to appeal to the Supreme Court of Oklahoma to do the right thing, which is to repay these 3 survivors for what was lost. The fact that now they're, this is what, I guess on behalf of the state, I just can't imagine this type of stance, knowing that there's so much evidence, so much discussion. It's been kind of put into the public psyche, this so-called race riot. It wasn't a race riot. It was a massacre of black people, of innocence. And the fact that God has allowed these survivors that are now over 100 years old to still remain steadfast.
Let me tell you something.
And try to find justice that they're owed. It's a miracle in and of itself, but they trying to drag this out so those people don't survive and get any type.
That's what Talia said. That's what Talia Hall, you said it. They definitely are stalling until they all die. Sickening. Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell you something. You see, some of us, Suzette, we kind of check out when we have some of our leaders and some black folks talking about real justice to this country. We be like, oh, well, the America don't, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Like, come on, y'all. I'm with the lawyer on this. 102 years. You had 102 years to get it right. The last thing you're going to be like is like, see, you opening yourself up to some stuff that could have been avoided, because justice is going to happen in this country. Whether you like it or not, whether you think about it or not, whether you agree with it or not, justice is going to happen, because guess what? Justice never sleeps. We're all going to have to face ourselves at some point. And America is going to have to face herself at some point. The state of Oklahoma is going to have to face itself at some point. There's no way in the world that the state can be this. I mean, there is. I'm not surprised, but at the same time, Suzette, I'm like, man, y'all are writing your own ticket. You're writing your own ticket. I mean, look, the talk among Black America every single day comes down to two words: truth and justice. That's it. That's the conversation that we have within Black America: truth and justice.
And in my opinion, yeah, just to add on, Farajii,
go ahead, please.
We've seen this discussion about reparations as well. And if there's any specific case that would seemingly demand reparations being made, it's a case like this one, where this was state, sponsored destruction of an entire, community, and it was never, addressed. It was actually they tried to cover it up. It's only till recently that it has become, a part of the national discussion as to what our history, when there was, apartheid, quite literally in America, the partness, where we suffered at the hands of Jim Crow, where Black lives truly didn't matter and could be taken at a whim with no one being held accountable for it, even years later. Now that we know better and should be doing better, other groups in our American, tapestry have received reparations for what they did, during Japanese internment camps and, folks who were persecuted during World War II. We've paid as a country, the price of what was, these heinous acts. But for whatever reason, when it comes to all the deliberate acts done to destroy Black people, Black society, Black communities, Black individuals, and you have the people that are around who can give you the eyewitness testimony as to what exactly happened and by who, and the state is still, shuffling callously away from the responsibility that they hold and the role that they played in terms of destruction of an entire generation. And we're looking around, their descendants can't even be a part of the lawsuit. So now you're down to 3 known survivors. Yeah. And now you want to say, we're not going to pay and make them appeal and take longer. It's evil. It's absolutely evil.
And that's what I'm saying, Suzette. In 2023, when people say, well, America can right its wrongs, all you got to do is choose the right thing. But we're so far down the line, unfortunately, that even the right thing, calling for the right thing, has to be considered a revolutionary act. Just simply calling for justice. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. Joni checked in. Joni, you said, I would hate to be in the shoes of all those who have and still done the evil things to Black people for all these years. Justice will be served. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Hey, look,
I think this is to appeal. And I hope
the
Supreme Court takes it up, because they still have another layer to go.
And look, I hope so too. And let's keep it real. If the Oklahoma Supreme Court says no, as if they don't deserve it, just on the basis, I don't care how quote unquote strong your case may be in 2023. We know that happened. We know that the Tulsa massacre happened. Just knowing history should be strong enough to say they deserve something in response to that.
They built highways over those people's land.
You go to that part. Look, I've heard people that said to me, you go to that part of Tulsa, Oklahoma now, you can hardly find any remnant of a Black community, a thriving Black community. Any remnant of that. You're talking about 102 years later. We but we acknowledge what happened 102 years ago, when we had at the 100-year anniversary of that massacre. And you mean to tell me y'all still ain't going to do right? Nah, I'm not praying for you. I'm not praying for you.
There need to be people putting pressure in our, under our First Amendment, our right to peaceably assemble and let our voices be heard. There are people that need to speak up on behalf of these descendants and these survivors that are now in their hundreds, quite literally. As a community there, hopefully they do rally around them and continue, whether it's letter writing, whether it's peaceful protests, whether it's calling upon your elected officials to get involved, make statements, hold press conferences, whatever you need to do to put pressure on, especially like the legislature. Even in Florida, we've had legislative bills come through. For example, the Ocoee massacre. A lot of people don't know about Ocoee, right outside of Orlando. Oh my goodness. But the state legislature.
It was another black town?
Yes.
Another black town. Okay.
Bottom line is the state legislature created a law to allow descendants of Ocoee and any black students that live within that surrounding area to go to college based on a state grant. So if it doesn't even happen within the judicial branch, which we do hope it does, there might be other recourse, I would say, to the legislators. I don't know how they're in Oklahoma, the lay of the land in terms of Republican versus Democrat, et cetera, within their state house and state Senate. But there may be other chances for recourse, but we'll keep an eye out on what happens at the Supreme Court level there in Oklahoma.
Absolutely. And very quickly, I know we got to take a quick pause. 30 seconds. Can President Biden, because Buster Douglas III, you said federal could step in for the survivors, but y'all still going to vote for Biden regardless. # Cornell for Prez. And you are not a victim. Ask the question, where's President Biden? Can he step in? I know we got 30 seconds left, but can he do anything?
Obviously, there are two different branches here. This is the Oklahoma state jurisdiction, their laws, right? Their bodies of governing. And then you have the federal level. If there were some kind of same thing, like a law created for some type of redress, it can happen. Excuse me. President Biden doesn't have the executive order power. It would have to come from Congress. So it would have to be the same thing, legislation that would hopefully make this right. Excuse me.
There it is right there. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about former Ravens player Michael Orr and how he has released a new book telling his side to the story of The Blind Side. That was a book and that was made into a movie. And now he's saying the adoption and story that his parents gave him was all a lie. We'll have that conversation up next, as I got something for you if we got time for Trends, Post, and Doing the Most. So stay with us. Still got a lot to talk about here in today's edition of The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. All right, let's talk about this next story, which is the story of former Ravens player Michael Orr, who is the author of a brand new book. As we take a look at what has been happening, as he wanted to tell his side of the story. If y'all are not familiar with Michael Orr is a black football player who was adopted by a white couple, and how they helped him as a little boy and worked with him, and they essentially raised him to grow up into being an NFL superstar. And they made a movie about it called The Blind Side, starring Sandra Bullock, about this journey of this white couple raising this black child. Well, now Mr. Orr has gone on record to say this is all a lie. Suzette, let's talk a little bit about this. My sister Suzette Speaks checking in once again. Suzette, this is a story that you were really interested in talking about, and I'm glad that you were, because I feel like, this is a very interesting story. First thing, The Blind Side came out years ago. It's been some time.
Yeah.
So it's been.
It hurt.
That's 14 years.
Yes, it hurt. I can't believe it. This is like a shock to the system. Like looking at how well the movie did and the folklore around their family. And again, as Farajii pointed out, if you don't know The Blind Side, it was an Oscar-winning movie and book that popularized this kind of folklore around Mr. Michael Orr. He, as a teenager, became a ward of a state at 11 years old. His mom struggled with substance abuse, and he was taken in by this family. And again, according to what we saw in the movie, we thought it was all love and that they had adopted him as it was portrayed. Now he's alleging that never happened, which is like, again, it's so huge and goes against the feel goodness of this story and what we thought we knew. So in his lawsuit, he's alleging that he was never adopted. In fact, he believes that a conservatorship was established. Again, he said he just realized this about 6 months ago, that instead of it being adopted, he actually gave them legal rights to make all the decisions about, his money, his, medical decisions. All basically conservatorship gives over legal rights to make decisions to a third party. So he thought he became a part of their family as an adoption would allow, but he, right after the age of 18, signed this paperwork. He said he didn't know it was a conservatorship, but basically looking at all of what happened with their movie, with their book, he's saying that they illegally, according to his filing, allegedly gained profit from his image, from his likeness, from his story, from which he never benefited. So now they have put out a statement. To be fair, their attorneys have now hit back saying that this is a shakedown, according to them, that they never kept from him that it wasn't a conservatorship, which I take issue with, because at first they weren't mentioning it. Now that they have in their statement kind of admitted there is a conservatorship, and there needs to be a forensic accounting around where the money went and what monies were given to who. And if in fact, and according to like their statement, if he wants to end the conservatorship, that's fine with them. I'm paraphrasing, but bottom line, this is a grown man. What you saying? Why are you acting as if you're doing him a favor? And maybe it should have been ended years ago. But again, we're going to have to look at, what one side is claiming, which is again, that he didn't understand what this was, that it actually hurt his NFL career because it made him seem dumb, according to like how he was portrayed in the movie. That, this kind of football IQ that we talk about, especially as it applies to black players, that he suffered as a result in his NFL career because of how he was, described and portrayed by the Tuohys. But Leanne and Sean Tuohy have a lot of splaining to do when it comes to what actually happened and what he knew and when he knew it. So there's a mess going on right now between the two sides, and what their alleged versions of what happened are just so different that it's quite shocking to those of us who fell in love with the story.
So a conservatorship
Conservatorship. What Britney Spears had. Conservatorship.
Right, exactly. And that was just my point in bringing that up, Suzette, because this is the same situation. But this wasn't unlike Britney Spears, because this was from her father, right? This was from her biological father. Is that from what I understood in that case versus this case? This is not like, of course, it's not Michael Oher's biological parents.
The thing is, he was 18 when he signed over and created it, according to his pleading. But in Britney's case, their argument was that she was medically unwell. Sometimes when people get old or they can't manage their affairs. And again, it gives almost complete power to this party to make decisions on your behalf. They have control of your checkbook, all your checking accounts. You know how you.
So this is
it's like complete control of your affairs. It's a lot of power.
So what makes this different from a power of attorney?
That is more limited in nature. Usually it's like medical power of attorney, or it has, more limited functions. Conservatorships are granted by a court and are like all encompassing. And it, again, within the money that was made in terms of the profit from the movie, etc., it would have to go through them first and then be redistributed according to what they thought was best for him. But this young man is not incapacitated at the time. Again, he had turned 18. He had a rough upbringing. He had been, again, a ward of a state. But he said in his allegations in his lawsuit that he's filed that he thought all along that he had been adopted and that they never adopted him. The paperwork that he signed was actually this conservatorship. And again, they are coming back, hitting hard, saying that he knew all along and that they didn't do anything without his knowledge. And that they, from the blind side, they split up the profits 5 ways. I think the mother, the father, the little brother, him, and I guess
that's crazy.
And all this other stuff. They're vehemently saying that this is a shakedown of some sort, and that they will let go, basically, if that's what he wants. I'm kind of like taking issue with that as a grown man. You want to let me go? Nah, you was making so much money off of me. But again, all these are allegations. I don't know what is true from which is actually the fact, because you got two sides right now going back and forth. Basically, all we have is the public statements made after he filed his lawsuit. And now the Tuohys have responded with their own public statement. But we have to wait till this one gets into a court of law to see what, really actually happened.
And, it's so funny, it's so ironic that all this is happening. And his story is called The Blind Side. He didn't know nothing.
He was blindsided.
He was blindsided.
According to his lawsuit.
He didn't know nothing, none of this stuff. All right, let me share with you. You didn't have to laugh that hard.
He's alleging. And I'm going to do a show on this on my channel, actually.
All right, cool. I'm glad. Tiana, you said Orr was in a conservatorship until he was 25 years old. Them people needs to just run him his damn money. That money is gone.
Yeah, I don't know. 20 years later.
I mean, that money is gone. Yeah. Tiana, thank you so much. Talia, you checked in and said the movie made it appear that they adopted him.
That's what he's saying. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point. Thank you, Talia, for checking in. Robin, you checked in. Robin Welch, you said, how do you only get allowance when it's your money?
Your likeness, your image, your story. That part.
Because if he was young, like they didn't know he was going to go into the NFL.
They say, because again,
you see what I'm saying? Like, unlike Britney Spears situation, she got into the industry very early on as a young girl, right? So then there was some view, oh, she's on track to becoming this person. But Michael Oher, they didn't know he was going to get into the NFL.
He claims that they were going to adopt him so he could be officially, I think it was like an Ole Miss, if I didn't get the school right, alum. So they were alum, and it was going to help him get into that school to play with sites on the NFL. So there was that connection there. But yeah, the fact that, again, this was such a heartwarming, feel-good movie,
American story.
Yes, again, some people even call the movie, the public sentiment around, the white savior, kind of not my words, but what's been called, you have a black kid that comes in and gets saved by this white family. This family has advocated for adoption due to this. They have foundations around this. They have speaking opportunities around this. They have become like poster people for, advocates of adoption. So to think that it may not even be true, it is kind of, rocking the public in terms of who they thought they are and what they may in fact be. Again, all parties must, kind of prove their allegations in a court of law. But it's a very damning lawsuit.
Absolutely. Look, I got to take another quick pause. When we come back, let's talk a little bit more about this. Crew, I want to get more of your comments and get your take on this as we're talking about the Michael Oher situation, how the former NFL player has now decided to tell his side of the story about his relationship with those folks that we thought were her parents, but actually it wasn't. This was not his adoptive parents. They were owners of his conservatorship and the implications of that. So stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shots.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We've been talking about NFL player Michael Oher, who has now come out in a new book to state that his whole adoption story was actually a lie and that the blind side shared the wrong side of what really happened. And this has been a huge shock, considering the fact that the blind side, the book, it was a book that was made into a very successful movie starring Sandra Bullock. And it really changed the conversation about white couples adopting black boys and black children. Well, Michael Oher is bringing people back down to reality and say, no, it wasn't an adoption. It was a conservatorship. And that is a different arrangement of affairs of when adults have the legal, they have the legal right to handle the affairs of a child. I got my sister Suzette speaks on this. Suzette, this is, like you said, this was a real shock to the system in a lot of ways because this was a quote unquote an American story and a story that people felt inspired by and a story that gave some people hope. What do you think is going to happen now? Even though now both sides, Michael and this family are going back and forth about what really happened, how do you think it's going to affect other people's view of this idea of the white savior, cultural idea of white parents saving black boys or black girls, especially in those who are in the adoption system? How do you think it's going to affect that conversation?
I think it taints it. I think it, in many ways, like this again was such a feel-good American story of you, as you described, that there is now a huge shift in what we're thinking about in terms of, was this actual exploitation? I just want to correct for the record, because in the filing that occurred on Monday, Mr. Orr learned of the conservatorship, and that it didn't have the power to make him a legal member of that family in February, and that he's petitioning now to end it. So according to reports now, it has not ended. He's now petitioning to have it ended. But to your question, I do think it allows us to, have a very open conversation as to why people are doing what they're doing. Again, it ruins it for people and families who have an open heart to love anyone. And I think, again, I believe in cross-racial adoption. And I think it's better than sitting in a foster care home or a foster system.
Right. Oh, no doubt.
Not being loved, not being nurtured. I hope we get an increase in the amount of Black families that will be able to adopt in the future. But if there is not enough, we have to look, cross races to see who, again, will open their hearts and open their homes to a human being that just needs that love and care and development, right? So again, it unfortunately, changes this narrative that, will we look twice as to what are some of the objectives behind, for some couples, this type of move. Again, they paraded him, they had him out front. They have a whole movement around, what they do to give back to less fortunate kids, et cetera, et cetera. But it now, again, opens the door for that criticism, and maybe rightfully so, to kind of look twice and kick the tires. People are coming after even the actress that played Leanne Tui. Sandra Bullock is getting hate online on her social media,
which I don't understand. Why?
She should have done more research. She should have done this. And I'm like, it's not. Let's not go after.
It's not. That's not that. First thing, folks. First thing. She's not going to do as an actress. She's not going to be like, is this real? Is this true? I mean, you come to the script, they say it's based on a book. She may have picked up the book. We don't know. I don't know. But I'm just saying, if you read the book and the book presents a certain narrative, and there's no pushback at that time. Yeah. There was no pushback about this in 2004.
Yeah, exactly. So when you look at her now, she just lost a long-term partner, and it's just weird that people now want to hold her accountable, so to speak. I think, again, this lawsuit the facts as we know them, like one side is saying one thing, one side is saying a whole nother thing. So right now there's a divergence in the facts, but I think the paperwork is going to prove, what happened. I think there should be, again, a forensic accounting of what came into that conservatorship and what went out into who, right? How were they paying themselves? What were they doing with the profits from the movie? They said, I think, a part of a contract, and I've read, and again, I don't want to put it out there as concrete, but that up to 2% of that movie, and I was doing a calculation on my phone, and I think they said, if I go back to my calculator, sorry, that the movie made like $300 million. That's like $5-6 million.
That's crazy. I forgot how much that movie made. That's crazy.
Exactly. If those were the terms of the contract, again, conservatorships give that person that's now in charge of your affairs a right to enter contracts on your behalf. If they did, and again, these are allegations unproven, but if they did, sign contracts for whatever percentage of the profits of the movie, where did they go? How much did he get? And should he have gotten more? And should have this, conservatorship have been ended way before now? Did he have to make noise? Now there had to be something that sparked him going into the paperwork, right? To see what was actually going on then. And finding out, as he said, this year, because a lot of people were saying, well, why he waited so long? He didn't know. So looking at all of the allegations in his lawsuit, it's very troubling. There are a lot more questions than answers. Again, everybody will have their version of facts for now, right? Their statements is just dueling statements, but we have to wait till we get into a court of law to see what it actually can be proven by either side.
Pastor Damon Blissett checked in and said $309 million is what the movie made.
Yes.
And y'all got to know, in 2004 terms, that's a lot of money. We're just simply talking about this is 23, so 19 years ago.
Yeah.
Nearly 20 years ago. but that's a lot of money back, and it probably cost less than 20 million to make. I mean, it really wasn't like didn't have explosions and all of those things to it. So the cost to make the production versus how much it actually made, huge profits, a profit margin. My thinking is now then looking at this, Suzette, and I know you take this very quickly. When we look at how even these Hollywood celebrities, you know, I'm thinking about like an Angelina Jolie, Sandra Bullock. She actually adopted Black children herself.
Yep.
When you hear about these stories, you know, it does leave a little bit of room, little bit of doubt and suspicion as to if this is, and I'm not questioning the quality of a person's heart, but when you do have cross-racial adoptions, I'm sorry, for me, it's like, okay, what is really happening here? Not to say that you can't do it or that you shouldn't do it, but it does open that door a little bit where it's like, are you doing this just because of some financial gain, some benefit? Some folks will even travel across the globe. You know what I mean? Remember, there was a point where a lot of people, a lot of American couples, whether they were Black or white, but I think mostly a lot of white American couples were traveling to Africa to get Black children, to adopt Black children. Yeah. Go to Haiti, going to the Caribbean, going to lands where our people were serving as the majority and getting children.
And case by case, Farajii, because again,
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's a great point. Excellent point.
Oh, it makes my stomach turn to think, even though he was 18, how vulnerable he was based on all the stuff he had gone through at that time. And if they did take that opportunity to exploit him, it's beyond the pale, and they need to give that man his money. But again, they're going to have their day to prove or to bring out what they say happened. And again, it's just really sad all around that it just brings this cloud over what was this classic movie, feel good movie. Everybody, you know, left the theater all, you know, warm and fuzzy inside, and how beautiful we can be and love one another no matter what our backgrounds are, etc. But unfortunately, these individuals, again, according to his lawsuit, they're going to have their time to, you know, prove up what they say happened. You know, it's just really kind of shocking allegations for those of us who know The Blind Side as a brand. So we'll have to see what else, you know, comes out in the future, but, you know, we'll be talking about it.
And Pastor said it cost Pastor Damon, you said it cost $29 million to make that movie. They made 10 times that much in the theaters. Oh yeah, and they got an Oscar, you know, nomination out of it. I mean,
Sandra Bullock won an Oscar for that.
She won an Oscar for that. That gravy train was moving. That gravy train was running. Man, oh man, we want to have to wait to see how this thing plays out. Folks, up next, we got something for Trends Post and Doing the Most. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Let me bring my sister Suzette back into it, because Suzette, as brilliant as Suzette is, y'all, Suzette can get petty.
What? What do you mean, Farajii? What you mean?
She loves talking about the pettiness of other people. That's what I mean.
I try not to be. Let's not go there. I want us to live in unity and let it go. That's my rule. A lot of times people get petty, but I try not to be.
All right, so this story here, I just had to bring this up because I think this is like super. This is super petty.
I see the segment. I
think that's being like this is juicy and petty. All right, folks. This is what folks are talking about right now. So we all know about that famous viral video of Keke Palmer really just going crazy for Usher just a couple of months ago when she visited Usher with your girlfriends for his Las Vegas residency, and how she was wearing whatever she was wearing and basically being serenaded by the R&B singer. So we remember that video, but more importantly, we remember how her then boyfriend just overreacted to the point where he started to just try to go on social media to blast the actress about what she was wearing and how it wasn't conducive for a mother to be wearing such
mother of
her child to be wearing such a thing, and it created this uproar. We talked about it. Well, I think he's out the picture at this point. And guess what? Usher, who I'm sorry, I can't say this for Usher, and Keke have now joined up to release a new single that drops today called Boyfriend. And in this single, this is King Petty. This is petty. So Usher already knew that everybody was talking about him and how he was doing this. But they came together to drop this single. And as a result of that, he put a line in the song that he said, quote, "I heard your boyfriend was looking for me."
Y'all, let's support Black families, y'all. Can we support Black families and strengthen Black families? Oh my goodness.
He's really playing off of this.
I mean, at this point, I've seen so many wonderful, funny, I should say, and sarcastic comments about this, as if hold my beer was a person. Like, all right, you had a problem with what I did before. Hold my beer. I got one. This just escalated, and I don't know. Did we need this? I know they had a wonderful, moment.
Well, they already known each other for some time. They're friends.
They're real friends in real life. Okay.
They are real friends in real life. She's been around. I mean, he's been around forever. She's been around forever. So
they know each other, and they had, like you said, that viral moment where she was out in a cheeky outfit, let's say, and dancing and being serenaded by the one Usher, and it caused
USHERRAYMOND.
It caused a little uproar, caused a little stir. Her child's father was not feeling it. You a mother, come on, what you doing? Where you out there? And then people came to her defense. I'm talking about strongly.
Oh, I know that. I get it. Here's one of the lessons that and look, fellas, here's one of the lessons that we need to learn from this. Don't push your woman into the arms of another man.
It breaks my heart.
It breaks my heart.
I don't know. I'm
Don't do it.
Publicity, or you think, how does Darius feel? That's what I want to know. Darius.
Who cares? Who cares at this point? Who really cares?
They have a child together.
That's all well and good, but they not to. If Darius would have kept his mouth shut, had the conversation with his girlfriend in private quarters, now you looking sillier than ever. You are more embarrassed because now the man that oh my gosh, you went to bop, bop, bop. Now, not only did you lose your girlfriend, the dude that she was serenaded by puts out a single with them.
In the video, singing with him. I don't know. That's petty. That ain't me, Farajii. You better call Keke, because I don't know. I mean, I thought this died down,
That's petty. And then he gonna put in there, I heard your boyfriend was looking for me. I heard your boyfriend was looking. Come on, Usher. Come on, Usher. Don't break up happy homes and families, bro. Come on.
It's kind of messy, kind of petty. I don't know. I'm team. Let's not do this to our baby fathers. Like, this is too much. But I get the publicity angle. I get that people were talking about it so much that they probably couldn't get it out quick enough, like in the studio. doing the music video. People were, very, very bothered by, Darius speaking out and saying that she had no right, so to speak, to come out the house and be acting that way as a mother, a new mother of his child. And, he stood on that, for his household. He don't stand for his household. And, the man felt like just, to give the other side of the coin, he was standing up for, I guess, traditional.
What was he saying? I get it. You trying to handle a situation.
People was like, traditionally, why he didn't marry her? They came hard.
Hey, Suzette. Remember when Dave Chappelle had that great segment, one of his classic segments of all time, when keeping it real goes wrong?
Listen, Nash not making money off of it. They're like, let's capitalize on the moment. I don't know. I hope she had a great discussion with him before she put this out.
I bet you she was behind it first. She probably hit Usher up and was like, look, this is what I'm going to do. Because he was probably, behind the scenes, he was probably calling her and blowing her up. You made me, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, okay, cool, no problem. I hear you, Derek. I hear you. We're going to take care of the situation.
Let's not do it. Oh my God.
And y'all remember, this is my phone. This is my phone impression right here.
Do you know what's so funny?
Hey, Usher, can we go into the studio? Just like the beginning of his video. Come on, man. Oh, stop playing.
I don't know how Food feels about it, but like I said, I am not one to advocate for any. I'm advocating for Black unity.
Oh, I do. No, sometimes you got to get petty with some of these cats, man. I'm sorry. So, because sometimes you just got to get petty. Hey, sometimes it happens that way, bro. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't try to put your woman out on blast. Not like that. If you wanted to have a conversation with her, fine. That's all well and good. And I understand. Trust me, I'm a man. I get it. But not in this industry, bro. Not with guys like Usher around. Not like with this guy.
Oh, Lord. This one is...
Because Usher will take your girlfriend.
But I'm going to go back and watch the video. And like I said, hopefully they remain amicable, her and her child's father, for the sake of the child. And that this will not disrupt or in any way diminish, perhaps, what remains of a hopeful relationship between the two. But I don't know all them details. I'm not in her household. I don't know what's really.
Man, look. She could take the child and do once he gets a job.
Farajii.
I'm sorry.
Farajii, I guess they're gonna make $2 off of this, and we're gonna be talking about it. People gonna be buying it. I don't know. Do you take every opportunity to make a song out of something? I don't know. But maybe they felt it, and maybe old boy approved. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. That one's a little petty. That one's
petty. Come on, Suzette. You know you liked it. You try to act so. Suzette is like, no. Let's keep the peace.
Get their family. We need family. So
we need families.
I gotta watch the video. I'll tell you how I feel.
I don't have to watch the video. The song is called Boyfriend. Usher says your boyfriend was looking for me, and Key's on there with Keke Palmer. Everything else is just
yikes.
All right, there it is right there. That's what's trending right now. Keke, I said Keke, Suzette.
No. Y'all don't mix me up in grown folks' business. Whatever they decide for their household, let it be. But I don't know if this was the song that we needed. But maybe it's a good song. I'm gonna go listen to it. But hopefully their home is still intact. But nonetheless, I don't know.
Their home is not intact. Their home is not intact. The home is not intact. All right, let's end the show out. Suzette, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Y'all, my sister Suzette Speaks. Make sure y'all support her on all her platforms. She got a dynamic show on YouTube called The Suzette Speaks Show. She talks about a lot of the same issues, giving it from her point of view, her side of things, right? Not the blind side, Suzette's side.
Exactly.
Suzette's side.
Come on over, subscribe, please hit the subscribe.
There we go. Subscribe to all of her platforms. Subscribe to her Pantheon. And she always jumps into the chat here on The Culture. So we love and appreciate Suzette so much for her brilliance and her pettiness when she decides to show it. when she decides to keep it real.
Y'all don't put that on me. Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzette. Checking in with you next week, God willing. We thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you. Thank my dynamic production team, my man Chris, my Aunt Maddie, Joe Shannon, and my guy King Keenan for making me look and sound so good. Make sure y'all do your due diligence. Support us here at Black Star Network. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com, 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 where you can give financially, and you can also share the link, share the information with your family and friends, and certainly we want you to follow us on all social media platforms at Black Star Network. Also follow me, yours truly, Farajii Muhammad. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Twitter. I'm on all of that. Make sure y'all find me there. But I would love to connect with you. Let's continue to build the community of the Culture Crew and so much more. All right, tomorrow, we're going to have one of our Culture Crew members. She's going to check in with us tomorrow to talk about the great work she's doing. I'm going to also talk about why it's important for us to get involved. So we're going to have that conversation and so much more. I thank y'all so much for tuning in. Stay tuned. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, exclusively here, only here on the Black Star Network. Peace.
You're rocking with the best.